Hi, I'm Christopher Brzezinski, and I'm going to speak to you about verbal and nonverbal communication. It's actually broken up into three parts: primarily verbal, mixed, and primarily nonverbal. Verbal communication is written or spoken language. Examples would be a phone call or an email. Nonverbal communication is what's called the body language. Your body actually speaks. Your face can give away information that you might not think you're actually doing. And mixed communication is a combination of both. I'm actually only going to speak to you about two out of the three today, and that's going to be mixed communication and nonverbal communication. So let's go ahead and get started with mixed communication. One of the biggest things with mixed communication would be facial expression. When you're listening to a speaker at a lecture, you're watching how their face expresses if it matches what they're saying. Or if you're meeting for a friend for lunch, when you guys are engaged in a conversation, you try to keep eye contact, or you're looking around and you see their face, and are they smiling? Do they seem happy? Those are things you're looking for. The face is known as an open book. It's telling the story. Does it match up with the words that are actually coming out of your mouth? Another example would be smiling can be seen as being happy or friendly across the world, with the exception of the Japanese. They were taught at a young age to go ahead and hide their negative emotions through smiling constantly, and that can be misinterpreted. Another part of mixed communication is proximity or space. There's actually 4 different categories for that. You have intimate distance, which is up to 18 inches, and skin contact. You have personal distance, which is that 1.5 feet to 4 feet. That's known as your personal bubble. You have your social distance, which is going to be 4 to 12 feet. That's outside of your personal bubble, and that's usually going to be conversation with a work colleague that you're not necessarily friends, but you're more acquaintances. You can have more informal conversations. And public distance is going to be your 12 to 24. That's going to be reserved for classroom lectures or even a speech. And another example would be a comedy show. Comedians, the closest people to them are going to be no closer than 12 feet. Words and hidden values. Well, what does that mean? Well, words name objects. I can give you a couple examples. If I say the word vacation, half of you are thinking about, ooh, I'm sitting on a beach, clear sky, sunny, and I have an adult beverage in my hand. That is a hidden value with the word associated vacation. You already have an emotion put into it or a memory. Another example would be if I said the word spider. 60% of you are probably looking over your shoulder right now to see if there's anything crawling on your clothes. Those are the hidden values in words that are being named. Another thing that our reading talked about was God terms and devil terms. These are things that you try to teach for upbringing. So in my home, God terms, for example, would be family, church, and respect. Those are things I want my kids to hold value with. Devil terms are going to be, for my family again, would be hate, fight, backtalk. These are negative words that I want them to understand the value, but I also want them to know that we don't like to use a lot of these negative values in our home. There are also certain ways of speaking. You have relational messages, you have baby language, professional language, friend language, and low code versus high code. Let's go over baby language. Just about anybody, a normal person, and I use that term lightly, when holding a baby, you automatically go into the oohs and ahs and goo and start talking like that at what you feel is that baby's level. That's the whole baby language. You're talking down to the conversation level that needs to be for that to happen. Professional language is more of a formal way of speaking. When I was in the military, if there was requests put in, no matter if they were below me or above me, if there was a question asked, I always said yes sir, yes ma'am, no sir, no ma'am, and those are things that are just they're formal. Then you have your friend language. That's somebody you're gonna talk about last week's baseball game or the past football game. They're pretty much, it is how you would talk normally with somebody that you're very close with, that you don't have to be formal anymore. And then low code and high code can be pretty much broken down into informal and formal. Once again, grammatical and non-grammatical. With the high code, you're going to actually speak how you normally don't, but the way you want to be seen in a professional level. Informal, the low code, is pretty much your relaxed conversation and having that talk with family and friends, and you just speak the way that you normally feel comfortable speaking. Narration, telling stories. Anytime you're communicating, pretty much you're always going to see there's going to be some kind of story being told when having a conversation. Some of the best speakers across the world are usually some of the best storytellers. Once again, I'll use comedians as an example. Robin Williams, David Chappelle. These are names, very, very funny people, but they're also very good at telling stories. And you're listening to what they have to say to finally get to that punchline to make you laugh. Some of the best motivational speakers, they also use storytelling. They'll take examples or snips of their own life and put it into their speech. And with that, we'll transition into nonverbal communication, which once again I said was the silence and your body language is what's telling the story. So one of the big things would be eye contact. And the reason why I went over eye contact is it says a lot when you actually look at somebody. When you look at them, then usually it's going to be that it's a sign of respect when you can look them in the eye. If you're looking away, it's always seemed as you're below them or you're afraid of them. For babies, the way they talk to us, because they can't say anything yet, they talk to us with their eyes. When we're actually talking to them, they are focusing on everything in our face because that's how they learn language. And a lot of hiring practices, those individuals going in for interviews, they could be hired or not hired on the fact with just eye contact alone. It's said they usually, for the best instances for interviews, 50 to 70% eye contact with the person that's speaking to you. And you always want to make sure that if there's more than one person in that interview process, you want to make sure that you're spreading out your eye contact to everybody, getting the 50 to 70%. Transmits emotional information, another nonverbal. And a good example with that would be in a classroom setting. The teacher trying to give a lecture and you have kids just passing notes across the table. Well, yeah, they're not saying anything, but their body's doing something. Or if they can't stay in their seat, they have restless leg syndrome, or that's what it looks like. These are examples of your body showing, you're pretty much, what it's saying is you're giving disrespect to the speaker in that class. And in conclusion, once again, I talked about the mixed communication and nonverbal communication. Those were two things I really wanted to speak on. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to leave it in the comments in our forums, and I will try to get back with you with that. Thank you.